In a small, quiet town nestled between rolling hills, lived a girl named Lily. She was known for her golden hair and bright green eyes that sparkled like emeralds. But Lily had a secret. She often felt lonely and invisible, like a shadow, in the sunlight. The whispers of her classmates echoed in her mind, and she struggled to find her place in the world. One cloudy afternoon, after a long day at school, Lily decided to take a walk in the woods behind her house. The trees stood tall like guardians, their leaves whispering secrets. She needed to escape her feelings and find some peace. As she walked deeper into the woods, the sounds of the town faded. The only sounds were the rustling leaves and the distant chirping of birds. Lily eventually reached a clearing where wildflowers danced softly in the breeze. She sat among the vibrant colors, feeling the earth beneath her. The weight of her sadness felt almost too heavy to bear. In that moment, she closed her eyes and wished for everything to disappear. She wished to escape her pain, to find peace, even if it meant leaving this world. As she took a deep breath, a wave of calm washed over her. In her mind, she imagined herself floating, free from worries and sadness. But then, something strange happened. Instead of darkness, she felt a warmth spread through her. It felt like a hug, a gentle light. Curiosity sparked inside her, and she opened her eyes. To her surprise, she saw a tall figure standing above her. The figure was a young man with messy brown hair and kind blue eyes. He was not an angel or a ghost. He was very much human. His face showed concern, and he quickly knelt beside her. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his voice like a soothing melody. "I found you here, and I was worried." Lily blinked, still trying to recognize what was happening. I was just taking a break," she stammered, unsure of how to respond. For the first time in a long time, she felt seen. The young man smiled, his eyes sparkling. "I'm Jason. I often come here to think, too. It's nice to know someone else enjoys this place." He sat down next to her, and together they watched the flowers sway in the breeze. As they talked, Lily learned that Jason was also struggling. He felt the pressure of school and family expectations weighing him down. They shared their stories, Lily about her loneliness, and Jason about his fears. In that moment, they became friends. Two souls finding comfort in each other. After a while, the sun began to set, painting the sky with strokes of orange and pink. The woods took on a magical glow, and for the first time, Lily felt happy. She didn't feel alone anymore. Jason suggested they meet at the clearing every week to talk and share their thoughts. "Who knows? Maybe we can help each other," he said with a hopeful smile. As weeks passed, their friendship blossomed. They laughed, shared secrets, and supported each other through tough times. Jason helped Lily see the beauty of her life, making her feel valued, and Lily encouraged Jason to chase his dreams, reminding him that it was okay to feel scared sometimes. One day, while sitting in their usual spot, Jason surprised her with a question. "Lily, what would you wish for if you could have anything in the world?" Lily thought for a moment, feeling the weight of the question. "I wish to feel happy and confident. I wish to believe in myself," she confessed. Jason nodded, understanding her feelings. "You can do it, Lily. You are stronger than you think. Just keep believing." Their bond strengthened, and as winter approached, they decided to take on new adventures together. They went ice skating in the park, built snowmen, and even attended the town's winter festival. With each new experience, Lily grew bolder and more confident. But as the season changed, so did their lives. Jason faced pressures from school that began to take a toll on him. The weight of expectations once again threatened to pull him down. He stopped showing up at the clearing, and the light in Lily's life dimmed. Days turned into weeks, and Lily's heart sank with worry. She missed her best friend terribly. One cold evening, determined to find him, she walked to Jason's house. She knocked on the door, her heart racing. After a few moments, Jason's mother opened the door with a worried expression. "Is Jason home?" Lily asked, her voice trembling. His mother sighed. "He has been feeling down. I'm afraid. It's hard for him to be around others right now." Lily felt a pang of sadness, but she was also determined. "I want to help him," she declared. With the support of Jason's mother, Lily went upstairs to his room. She knocked softly on the door. "Jason, it's me, Lily. Can I come in?" At first, there was silence. Then she heard a quiet, "Yes." She opened the door to find him sitting on the bed, staring out the window, lost in thought. His usual bright smile was replaced with a heavy frown. "Hey," she said softly, sitting beside him. "I've missed you." Jason looked at her, his eyes filled with worry. "I'm sorry, Lily. I didn't mean to disappear. I felt so overwhelmed." Lily took a deep breath. "We all feel overwhelmed sometimes, but you don't have to go through it alone." Jason nodded, tears forming in his eyes. For the first time, he allowed himself to be vulnerable. They talked for hours, sharing their fears and hopes. Lily's presence brought a light back into his life, reminding him of their friendship's value. As they spoke, Jason began to feel the weight lift. From that day on, they promised to always be there for each other, no matter how hard things got. They realized they were stronger together, their bond unbreakable. As spring arrived, the flowers bloomed again in the woods. Lily felt a sense of hope and happiness she never thought possible. She had opened her eyes to a beautiful life, filled with friendship and love. It was no longer just about escaping her pain. It was about embracing the joy of being alive. Lily and Jason continued to meet in their special clearing, laughing and dreaming about the future. Their friendship taught them valuable lessons about hope, connection, and the importance of never feeling alone. They both learned to face their challenges, knowing they would always have each other to lean on. The biting wind howled, tearing at Alara's thin cloak as she stood on the cliff's edge. Below, the unforgiving sea crashed against the rocks, a dark and churning abyss. Her heart was a cold stone in her chest, mirroring the desolate landscape around her. Life had become a relentless storm, each wave crashing harder than the last, until she was left with nothing but the chilling certainty that she could no longer weather it. Her family's farm, once a vibrant tapestry of green fields and laughter, had been ravaged by drought. Debts had piled up like fallen leaves, choking the life out of their dreams. Her father, a man whose hands knew only the language of the earth, had succumbed to despair, leaving Alara, barely 20, to face the wreckage alone. She had tried everything. Worked from dawn till dusk, bartered and begged, but the relentless grip of poverty tightened with each passing day. The villagers, once her neighbors and friends, now averted their eyes, their faces etched with pity she couldn't bear. The weight of their unspoken judgment, the knowledge that she had failed, was a crushing burden. She closed her eyes, the wind whipping tears across her face. The decision had been made, a silent pact with the despair that had consumed her. There was nothing left for her in this world, only the promise of oblivion in the cold embrace of the sea. Taking a deep breath, Ilara leaned forward, surrendering to the inevitable. The ground vanished beneath her feet, and for a fleeting moment she felt a strange sense of peace. The wind roared in her ears, and the salty spray of the sea stung her skin. Then, a jolt, a sharp, unexpected pain in her arm. She gasped, her eyes flying open in bewildered shock. Instead of the dark, swirling depths of the ocean, she saw a face, a man's face, etched with concern and strained effort. His brow furrowed as he gripped her arm with surprising strength. He was pulling her back, away from the precipice. His boots scrabbled against the loose gravel as he fought against her weight, and the relentless pull of the wind. Ilara, disoriented and confused, instinctively resisted, her mind still clinging to the dark allure of the void. "Let me go," she croaked, her voice barely audible above the wind's fury. "No!" he shouted back, his voice raw with exertion. "I won't let you!" He hauled her back with a final surge of strength, and she stumbled, falling to her knees on the rocky ground, safe, yet inexplicably, bitterly disappointed. The man, panting, heavily, knelt beside her, his grip on her arm unwavering. He was young, perhaps a few years older than her, with kind eyes the color of the stormy sea and hair the shade of sun-baked earth. He wore simple clothes, a fisherman's garb, and his hands were calloused and strong. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. Alara stared at him, speechless, her mind reeling. She had been ready to die. And now, here was this stranger, this unexpected interruption, pulling her back into the world she had so desperately wanted to escape. "Why?" she whispered, the word barely a breath. "Why did you stop me?" The man hesitated, his gaze searching her face. "Because," he said softly, "life is precious, even when it doesn't feel like it." He helped her to her feet, his touch gentle but firm. She swayed, her legs weak and unsteady. He kept her arm firmly in his grasp, guiding her away from the cliff's edge. "My name is Kalen," he said as they walked slowly along the wind-swept path. "What's yours?" "Ilara," she replied, her voice still trembling. "Come," Kalen said. "Let's get you out of this wind. You're freezing." He led her to a small cottage nestled in a sheltered cove, a beacon of warmth and light against the desolate landscape. Smoke curled from the chimney, promising a haven from the storm. Inside, a fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the whitewashed walls. The room was small but cozy, filled with the comforting scent of wood smoke and the sea. An older woman, her face etched with the wisdom of years, looked up from her knitting as they entered. "Kalen, you're back," she said, her eyes widening as she took in Ilara's disheveled appearance. "Who is this?" "This is Ilara, Mother," Kalen said. She needed some help." His mother, whose name was Maeve, rose and approached Ilara, her gaze gentle and assessing. She led her to a chair by the fire, wrapping a thick woolen blanket around her shoulders. "You're shivering," Maeve said, her voice warm and soothing. "Let me get you some hot broth." As Ilara sat by the fire, slowly thawing from the inside, out, she watched Kalen and Maeve move around the cottage, their actions a silent dance of familiarity and love. She felt a pang of longing, a sharp reminder of the warmth and security she had lost. Over a steaming bowl of broth, Ilara told them her story, the words tumbling out in a rush of grief and despair. She spoke of the drought, the debts, her father's, death, and the crushing weight of responsibility that had led her to the cliff's edge. Kalen and Maeve listened patiently, their faces etched with sympathy. When she had finished, Maeve reached out and took her hand, her touch surprisingly strong. "Life can be cruel, Ilara," she said, "but it is also resilient. You are stronger than you think." Kalen nodded in agreement. "You don't have to face this alone," he said. "We're here for you." Ilara looked at them, her heart aching with a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. These strangers who had nothing to gain were offering her kindness and support when everyone else had turned away. I don't know what to say," she stammered. "Say nothing," Maeve said. "Just rest. We'll talk more in the morning." That night, Ilara slept in a small room in the cottage, the sound of the waves a lullaby that slowly lulled her into a dreamless sleep. When she woke, the sun was streaming through the window, painting the room in a golden light. The storm had passed, both outside and within her. The despair that had consumed her had not vanished entirely, but it had receded, replaced by a flicker of hope. a fragile ember glowing in the darkness. Over the next few weeks, Ilara stayed with Kaelin and Maeve, slowly healing and rediscovering her strength. She helped with the chores around the cottage, learning to fish with Kaelin and to knit with Maeve. She listened to their stories, their laughter, and their quiet wisdom, and slowly, she began to feel like she belonged. Kaelin, with his quiet, strength, and unwavering kindness, became her anchor, a lifeline in the turbulent sea of her grief. He didn't try to fix her problems or offer empty platitudes. He simply listened, offered his support, and reminded her that she was not alone. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Kaelin turned to her, his eyes filled with warmth. "Ilara," he said, "you've been through so much, but you don't have to carry that burden anymore. We want you to stay here, with us. Be a part of our family." Ilara's heart swelled with emotion. She looked at Kaelin, at Maeve, at the small, cozy cottage that had become her sanctuary, and she knew that she had found a new home, a new beginning. "Yes," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Yes, I want to stay." She had closed her eyes to die and opened them to see a human holding her. In that simple act of kindness, she had found not only a savior, but a family, a home, and a reason to live again. The storm had passed, and a new dawn had broken, filled with the promise of hope and the warmth of love. In a quiet small town, there lived a young woman named Clara. She was known for her joy and laughter, always brightening the days of those around her. However, deep inside, Clara carried a heavy burden. She felt lost, as if she were moving through life without a purpose. Each day felt like a struggle, and each night she wondered if she truly wanted to continue. One cold evening, as the sun dipped low in the sky, Clara wandered to a secluded park near her home. It was her favorite place to think, surrounded by a boat, tall trees, and the soft sound of rustling leaves. As she sat on a bench, the world around her faded away, and tears filled her eyes. The weight of her thoughts became too much to bear. "I wish I could just close my eyes and let it all go," she whispered to the wind. With that, Clara closed her eyes tightly. Inside her mind, she imagined drifting away, leaving her troubles behind. She felt herself falling into a deep sleep, the darkness soothing her aching heart. When Clara finally opened her eyes, she was surprised to find herself in a completely different place. She lay on a soft bed, surrounded by warm light. Startled, she blinked and tried to gather her thoughts. It took a moment for her to realize she was not alone. Standing beside her was a tall man with kind, gentle eyes. He had a friendly smile, and his presence made her feel safe. "Welcome back," he said softly. "You were in a difficult place, but you are safe now." "Who are you?" Clara asked, her voice trembling. "Where am I?" "I'm Ethan," he replied. "You're in a special place where lost souls come to find peace." Clara sat up slowly, still trying to grasp what was happening. "A special place? But I don't understand. I wanted to escape, to let go." Ethan nodded, understanding her confusion. "Many people come here when life becomes too hard. This place is where you can heal and find your way back to joy." As Clara listened, she felt a mix of fear and curiosity. Can I really go back to my life? What if it's still too hard? Ethan took a seat beside her. Life can be challenging, but it can also be filled with love and happiness. You just need to remember how to find it. Clara looked around the room. Everything seemed bright and inviting, but her heart was heavy. "How do you know this? Have you been lost too?" Ethan's smile faded a little. "Yes, I have. I was once in a dark place like yours. I met others here, and together we found our way back. It takes time, but it's possible. Intrigued, Clara wanted to know more. What happened? Next? How did you get back? We shared our stories, Ethan explained. We laughed, we cried, and we found comfort in one another. I learned that I wasn't alone, that people cared. It helped me see the beauty in life again. Clara felt a spark of hope. Could I meet these others? I want to learn how to feel happy again. Ethan's eyes lit up. Of course. Come with me. He led Clara down a long, colorful hallway filled with paintings and photographs. Each piece told a story, capturing moments of joy, sorrow, and everything in between. Clara felt a pull toward the art, each image speaking to her heart. As they reached a large room, Clara saw a group of people sitting in a circle. They looked up with warm smiles and welcoming eyes. There were 6 of them, each with their own story to tell. Clara took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Hello," she said softly. "I'm Clara." The group welcomed her with open arms, inviting her to sit down. One by one, they shared their stories. There was Mia, a bubbly artist who had lost her way after a tough breakup. There was Jake, a gentle musician who played his guitar to heal his sadness. And there was Lucy, a wise woman who had experienced great loss, but found strength in memories. Clara listened intently, relating to their struggles and triumphs. She realized they all understood her pain, and in that moment she no longer felt alone. When it was Clara's turn to share, she opened up about her darkness and the heaviness she had carried for so long. As she spoke, tears flowed down her cheeks, but this time they felt lighter. Clara shared her dreams and fears, and in that room she felt understood. The group offered her comfort, and their words wrapped around her like a warm blanket. "You are not defined by your struggles," Mia said. "You are strong, and within you lies the power to choose joy again." Over the following days, Clara met with the group regularly. They played games, created art, and shared laughter. Clara learned to express herself through painting, and she slowly rediscovered the joy of life. She felt lighter each day, and the darkness gradually faded. One evening, as they gathered to share their experiences, Clara felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you for showing me that I'm not alone," she said. "You helped me see the light again." Ethan smiled, proud of her progress. "Remember, it's okay to ask for help. We all need support sometimes, and you can always return here whenever you feel lost." With each passing moment, Clara felt more alive. The laughter, the friendships, and the love she experienced filled her heart with warmth. In time, she felt ready to return to her own life, carrying the lessons she had learned. As she prepared to leave, Clara turned to her new friends. "I will always cherish this place and all of you. Thank you for helping me find my way back." Ethan nodded, a proud smile on his face. "You did the hard work, Clara. You chose to fight for your joy." With a final goodbye, Clara closed her eyes and imagined returning home. As she opened them again, she found herself back in the park, the world bursting with colors and life around her. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of sadness lift. Clara looked around, her heart full of hope. Life was not perfect, but it was beautiful, and she was ready to embrace it. The wind howled a mournful song as Ilara stood on the cliff's edge. Below, the sea crashed against the rocks, a chaotic symphony mirroring the turmoil in her heart. She had come to this place, the edge of the world as she saw it, to end the pain that had become her constant companion. Ilara had always been a sensitive soul, feeling the world's joys and sorrows with an intensity that both blessed and cursed her. But lately, the sorrows had become overwhelming. A failed marriage, a business venture gone sour, and the crushing weight of loneliness had driven her to this desperate act. She closed her eyes, the salty air stinging her face. This was it. The end of a life that had promised so much, but delivered so little. With a deep breath, she leaned forward, ready to embrace the darkness, but the darkness didn't come. Instead, she felt a pair of strong arms wrap around her waist, pulling her back from the precipice. She gasped, her eyes flying open in shock. Standing before her was a man, tall and rugged, with eyes that seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages. His face was etched with lines that spoke of a life lived outdoors, battling the elements. He looked like he belonged to this wild, untamed place. "What do you think you're doing?" he asked, his voice rough but laced with concern. Alara stared, at him speechless. She had expected oblivion, not a human touch, not a voice filled with worry. I wanted to die," she finally managed to whisper, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. The man's grip tightened on her. "Die? On a beautiful day like this? With the whole world waiting to be explored?" Alara scoffed. "Beautiful? The world is a cruel and unforgiving place." "Maybe," he conceded, "but it's also full of kindness and wonder. You just have to know where to look." He led her away from the cliff's edge and towards a small, weathered cottage nestled in a hollow nearby. "Come," he said, "let's get you warmed up. You're shivering." Inside the cottage, a fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting a warm glow on the simple furnishings. The air was filled with the comforting scent of wood smoke and herbs. The man gestured for her to sit by the fire. "I'm Silas," he said, offering a gentle smile. "And you are?" "Ilara," she replied, still trying to make sense of what was happening. Silas busied himself making tea, his movements efficient and practiced. As she watched him, Ilara couldn't help but feel a flicker of curiosity. Who was this man? And what was he doing living in such a remote place? He handed her a steaming mug. "Drink this," he said. "It'll help you relax." The tea was warm and soothing, and Alara found herself slowly unwinding. As the tension began to ease from her body, she started to talk, hesitantly at first, then with increasing openness. She told Silas about her failed marriage, her business troubles, and the overwhelming sense of loneliness that had driven her to the brink. Silas listened patiently, offering no judgment, only quiet understanding. When she was finished, he simply nodded. "Life can be hard," he said. "It throws us curveballs when we least expect it. But it's not always a tragedy. Sometimes it's an opportunity." "An opportunity for what?" Alara asked, skeptical. "More pain?" "An opportunity to learn, to grow, to become stronger," Silas replied. "An opportunity to discover what truly matters." He told her about his own life, about how he had once been a successful businessman, driven by ambition and the pursuit of wealth. But one day he had realized that he was empty inside, that he had sacrificed everything that truly mattered for the sake of money and power. So he had walked away from it all, seeking solace in nature. He had built this cottage with his own hands, learning to live in harmony with the land. He had found peace and contentment in the simple things: the warmth of the sun, the sound of the waves, the companionship of the animals that roamed the hills. As she listened to Silas's story, Ilara began to see a glimmer of hope. Maybe there was more to life than she had thought. Maybe she could find a way to heal, to rebuild, to find happiness again. "Stay here for a while," Silas offered. "Help me with my chores, explore the island, give yourself time to think, to breathe, to remember who you are." Ilara hesitated. She had come here to die, not to start a new life. But something about Silas's offer resonated with her. Maybe this was what she needed, a chance to escape the pressures of her old life, to reconnect with herself, to find a new sense of purpose. "Okay," she said, "I'll stay." And so Ilara began a new chapter in her life. She spent her days helping Silas with his chores, tending to his small garden, and exploring the rugged coastline. She learned to chop wood, to milk goats, to identify edible plants. She discovered the simple joys of living close to nature. Slowly, she began to heal. The pain of her past didn't disappear entirely, but it became less intense, less all-consuming. She started to see the beauty in the world again, the beauty in the crashing waves, the soaring birds, the wildflowers that bloomed in the meadows. She also began to see the beauty in herself. She realized that she was stronger than she had thought, more resilient, more capable of love and joy. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Silas turned to her. "You know," he said, "you remind me of someone I once knew." "Who?" Ilara asked. "Myself," Silas replied. "Lost, broken, searching for a way out. But you've found your way back, Ilara. You've found your way back to yourself." Ilara smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I couldn't have done it without you, Silas," she said. "You saved my life." "You saved yourself, Ilara," Silas corrected. "I just showed you the way." As the days turned into weeks, Ilara and Silas grew closer. They shared stories, laughter, and moments of quiet companionship. Ilara found herself falling in love with Silas, with his gentle nature, his unwavering optimism, and his deep connection to the earth. She knew that their lives were different, that she came from a world of skyscrapers and boardrooms, while he belonged to this wild, untamed place. But she also knew that they shared something special, a bond that transcended their differences. One day, Ilara knew that she couldn't stay on the island forever. She had to return to her old life, to face her challenges, to rebuild her future. But she also knew that she would never forget Silas, that he would always hold a special place in her heart. She told Silas about her decision. He listened quietly, then nodded. "I knew this day would come," he said. "You have to follow your own path, Ilara, but know that you'll always have a home here, with me." Ilara packed her bags, her heart filled with a mixture of sadness and excitement. She was leaving a part of herself behind, but she was also taking something with her, a newfound sense of hope, a renewed belief in herself, and the love of a man who had shown her the true meaning of life. As she stood on the dock, ready to board the boat that would take her back to the mainland, she turned to Silas. "Thank you," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for everything." Silas smiled and took her hand. "Go," he said. "Live your life to the fullest, and never forget that you are loved." Ilara stepped onto the boat, her eyes fixed on Silas as the distance between them grew. As the island receded into the horizon, she closed her eyes, not to die, but to remember. She would carry the memory of this place, of this man in her heart forever, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope, always love, always a reason to keep going. She closed her eyes to die and opened them to see a human. Holding her Lila had always been a bright spark in her small town. With golden hair that danced in the sun and laughter that echoed through the streets, she was the joy of everyone who knew her. Yet in her heart, Lila harbored a secret. For years, she felt a deep sadness that shadowed her beautiful smile. She wanted to escape the pain that clung to her like a dark cloud, but she didn't know how. One rainy afternoon, when the skies were gray and heavy, Lila decided she could not carry her sadness any longer. She stood on the edge of a cliff near the forest, where no one would find her easily. She gazed down at the churning waters below, a wild rhythm reflecting her troubled thoughts. With tears streaming down her face, she took a deep breath and closed her eyes, preparing herself for the end. Just as she was about to take that final step, she heard a voice calling out to her. Lila, don't! Startled, she opened her eyes and saw a figure running towards her. It was Ben, her childhood friend, the boy who had always made her smile. His face was pale with fear and his eyes wide with concern. "Ben, go away! You don't understand!" she shouted, her voice cracking. But Ben kept coming, his arms outstretched. "I do understand! Please, just talk to me!" Lila hesitated. The warmth in his voice tugged at her heart. "What's the point?" "I can't do this anymore," she replied, her throat tight with emotion. "Please, you don't have to do this. I'm here," he pleaded. She could see the sincerity in his eyes, and for a moment her thoughts wavered. Then, suddenly, she felt a push. She stepped back in shock and stumbled. As she lost her balance, Ben lunged forward. He caught her arm just in time, pulling her back from the brink. They tumbled to the ground, Lila landing safely beside him. She looked at Ben, bewildered. "How did you know?" "I saw you leave the school," he explained, still holding on to her tightly. "I knew something was wrong. You're my best friend, Lila. I couldn't let you go." In that moment, something shifted within her. She saw the worry etched on his face, the care that glimmered in his eyes. Lila sat up, shaking. "I don't want to feel this way anymore. It hurts so much." Ben nodded slowly. "I can't pretend I know exactly how you feel, but I want to help. You're not alone in this." Lila looked away, feeling a rush of shame. "I didn't want anyone to know. I thought I could handle it. None of us can handle everything on our own. Please, let's talk. Let's find a way together," he said gently. As the rain began to pour down, they scrambled to their feet and made their way to the shelter of the nearby trees. "Let's sit down," Ben suggested, guiding her to a fallen log. Once they were seated, the weight of her emotions began to spill out. Lila shared her feelings, the loneliness, the grief of losing her father last year, and how the colors of the world seemed to fade around her. She told Ben about the nights filled with tears and the struggles she faced each day. Ben listened, never interrupting, his gaze locked on hers with understanding. When she finished, he spoke softly. "You're brave for sharing this, Lila. It's okay to not be okay. We can figure it out together, I promise." Lila felt a warmth spreading in her chest. Ben's words wrapped around her like a cozy blanket. "I wish I had your strength," she whispered. "It's not about strength. It's about support. You're not a burden, Lila. You're my friend, and I care about you," he reassured her. The rain calmed, and a quiet moment settled around them. They could hear the soft patter of droplets on leaves, and for the first time in a long time, Lila felt a glimmer of hope. "Could you stay with me for a while?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Ben replied, positioning himself next to her. They watched the rain fall together and shared stories about their childhood memories. Ben made her laugh, and with every giggle, a little more of her sadness twinkled away. After some time, Lila finally found the courage to look at Ben. "What if I'm not strong enough to get through this?" she asked. "You are strong even if it doesn't feel like it. Strength can be about asking for help. I will be here every step of the way. We can talk to someone too if you want," he said, his tone serious yet gentle. Lila took a deep breath, pondering his words. The thought of talking to someone seemed scary, but she knew she couldn't keep carrying the weight of her pain alone. With Ben beside her, maybe she could find the courage to try. "Okay, I think I'd like that," she finally said, a small smile breaking through. After that day, Lila opened her heart to change. With Ben's support, she sought help from a counselor who understood her struggles. Little by little, she learned to express her emotions in healthy ways and let herself heal. Each step was challenging, but Ben was always there, cheering her on. With time, the brightness returned to her life. She started to paint again, using colors she had long forgotten. She laughed more, savored moments with family and friends, and embraced the beauty in the world around her. One evening, as the sun set in hues of orange and pink, Lila found herself perched on the same log where she had shared her deepest fears. This time, however, she felt lighter, freer. Ben found her there, as he often did. "Hey, I thought I'd find you here," he said with a warm smile. "Just soaking it all in," Lila replied, smiling back. "Thank you for being there for me. I wouldn't have made it without you." "It's just the beginning, Lila. Keep going. You're amazing," Ben encouraged her. That day, Lila realized that closing her eyes to die had brought her to a new beginning. She had opened her eyes to life, hope, and the strength within her. A spark of joy flickered brightly as she stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, with Ben right by her side. The biting wind howled, tearing at Alara's thin cloak as she stood on the precipice. Below, the waves crashed against the jagged rocks, their icy spray a constant reminder of the death that awaited her. Her life had become a tapestry of loss, woven with threads of sorrow and despair. Her parents, victims of a sudden illness, her beloved brother lost at sea. Each tragedy had chipped away at her will to live, leaving her an empty shell. Now, with nothing left to hold on to, she had come to the edge, the point of no return. The world had become a cruel and unforgiving place, and she no longer wanted to fight. Her heart, once filled with dreams and aspirations, was now a cold, heavy stone in her chest. She closed her eyes, the wind whipping her hair across her face. This was it, the end. A single step, and the pain would be over. No more tears, no more heartache, no more emptiness, just oblivion. Taking a deep breath of the salty air, Ilara leaned forward, ready to surrender to the darkness. And then she opened her eyes. Instead of the swirling abyss of the ocean, she saw a face. A young man, his eyes wide with concern, was holding her tightly, his arms wrapped firmly around her waist. His grip was strong, preventing her from falling. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice a mixture of fear and relief. Ilara stared at him, her mind struggling to comprehend what was happening. She had been ready to die, and now here was this stranger, this unexpected interruption, pulling her back from the brink. She stammered, her voice barely a whisper. "I don't understand." "I saw you standing here," the young man said, his grip not loosening. "You looked like you were going to jump. I couldn't let that happen." His name was Liam, he explained, and he was a fisherman from the nearby village. He had been walking along the cliffs, checking his nets, when he had spotted her standing near the edge. Something about her posture, the way she stood with her head bowed, had made him uneasy. He had rushed towards her, arriving just in time to stop her. Ilara looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time. He had kind eyes, a gentle smile, and an aura of genuine concern. He was a stranger, yet he had saved her life. "Why?" she asked, the question tumbling out before she could stop herself. "Why did you save me?" Liam hesitated for a moment, his gaze softening. "Because everyone deserves a chance," he said simply. "No matter how dark things may seem, there's always hope. You just have to be willing to see it." His words resonated within her, stirring something that had long been dormant. Hope. It was a fragile thing, she knew, easily crushed by the weight of despair. But as she looked into Liam's eyes, she saw a spark of it, a flicker of possibility. He led her away, from the cliff edge, guiding her towards a small, sheltered cove where his fishing boat was moored. He helped her aboard, offering her a warm blanket and a cup of tea. The simple act of kindness brought tears to her eyes. As they sat in the boat, the gentle rocking of the waves a soothing balm to her frayed nerves, Liam listened patiently as Alara told him her story. She spoke of her losses, her pain, and the overwhelming sense of hopelessness that had driven her to the edge. He didn't interrupt, didn't offer platitudes or easy solutions. He simply listened, his presence a comforting anchor in the storm of her emotions. When she had finished, he said, "I can't pretend to understand what you've been through, Alara, but I do know that you don't have to go through it alone." He told her about his own struggles, the hardships he had faced as a young fisherman trying to make a living in a harsh and unforgiving environment. He had lost his father at a young age and had to work tirelessly to support his family. But through it all, he had never given up hope. "Life is hard," he said, "but it's also beautiful. There's joy to be found, even in the darkest of times. You just have to be willing to look for it." As the sun began to set, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Liam took Alara back to the village. He introduced her to his family, his warm and welcoming mother, his mischievous younger sister, and his gruff but kind-hearted grandfather. They welcomed her with open arms, offering her a place to stay and a chance to start anew. For the first time in a long time, Alara felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a reason to live again. The days that followed were filled with simple acts of kindness and connection. Alara helped Liam with his fishing, learning the rhythms of the sea and the satisfaction of hard work. She spent time with his family, sharing stories and laughter. She walked along the beach, feeling the sand between her toes and the wind in her hair. Slowly, gradually, the weight on her heart began to lift. The emptiness began to fill with a sense of purpose, a sense of belonging. She realized that life, even with its sorrows and challenges, was still worth living. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Liam turned to Alara and said, "You know, you remind me of the sea." "The sea?" she asked, puzzled. "Yes," he said, "sometimes calm and peaceful, sometimes wild and turbulent, but always beautiful, always full of life. You've been through a lot, Alara, but you're still here. You're still strong, and you have so much to offer the world." His words touched her deeply, reminding her of the strength she had forgotten she possessed. She had allowed her grief to consume her, to define her. But she was more than her pain. She was resilient, she was capable, and she was worthy of love and happiness. Looking at Liam, she saw not just a savior, but a friend, a companion, and perhaps even something more. He had shown her that even in the darkest of times, there was always light to be found. Alara smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "Thank you, Liam," she said. "Thank you for saving my life." He smiled back, his eyes full of warmth and affection. "You saved your own life, Alara," he said. "I just gave you a reason to." And as she looked out at the vast expanse of the ocean, she knew that he was right. She had closed her eyes to die, but she had opened them to see a human holding her, a human who had reminded her of the beauty and the possibility of life, and she was finally ready to embrace it.